Where is the money? We've heard of the SME Fund, MSME Fund, KIE, ICDC. Well, there's also banks that provide funding. So, according to the Central Bank of Kenya, commercial banks in the country have in recent years lent out a total of 393 billion shillings to the small and medium enterprises. This is compared to at least 2.5 trillion shillings that it lent out at the end of 2018. Now, in the last 6 months, ending June 30th, that's 2020, banks have only lent 2.9 billion shillings to the SME sector, compared to about 458 billion shillings that's available for lending. Now, Equity Bank and Coop Bank, in their regulatory filings, have indicated that they've set aside 62% and about 64% of their loan books to fund SMEs, respectively. To put this into perspective and to find out where the money is and how you can access some of these funds that are in commercial banks, let's now speak to Collins Chepkwony, who is the head of enterprise banking at Stanbic Bank Kenya. Collins, good afternoon, and thank you for making the time for us today. So, what makes an idea bankable, Collins? When somebody walks into the bank, what is it you're looking for in their proposal, in their idea, that tells you at Stanbic that, yes, we want to put our money behind this venture?
Thank you very much, Yvonne. I'll just a quick correction, Collins Wanyonyi, not Collins Chepkwony. So we look at two critical things. The first one is business record. And within the business record, the critical items we look at is your cash in, your cash out, and the cycle. So if I look at the cycle, I'll give an example. A retail shop that sells bread every day will get its cash in every day, but a school will get its funds quarterly. So how you treat the school and how you treat the retail shop will be different. And then the other piece will be how you do what you do, when you do what you do, and what you do. So that kind of information is very critical for us.
How you do what you do and when you do what you do. Could you expound on that a little bit?
So, for example, if you are a retail shop, what do you sell, for example? What are the fast moving items in the items you sell? And what are kind of margins do you get? So, for example, when you look at when you do, I gave an example of a retail shop versus a school. So, in a retail shop, you wake up in the morning, you'll stock your bread, you sell the loaf of bread. End of the day, you made your money. But for a school, you'll set up the school, you'll get the students coming in, and they only pay the school fees at the beginning of the term. And that is the amount of money that you'll rely on cash in until the end of the term. So if you are to look at a bank statement, for example, for a school versus a bank statement for a retail shop, for the school, you'll only see the money coming in January when the school opens, and the next time you'll see money coming in is in April when the next term opens.
Okay.
But for a retail shop, you can see the transactions daily. So how you treat these two institutions will be different.
Okay, so you talk about, good record keeping so that, you as the bank can see, what's happening. Let me ask the question in reverse. What are some of the things that you see when, small businesses, startups, for example, come in and they present a business proposal that you doubt and you say, this will not work? So we've talked about the do's. What are the don'ts? What are some of the proposals you've seen and you said, this idea, not so much?
Thank you for that. So the first bit will be information that is not consistent. So when somebody is giving you a true story, it will make sense from A to Z. But when the story has hiccups, when the story has gaps, then you ask yourself, what is contained in the gap that this person doesn't want us to fill in? And two is the missing the linkages in debt. So when you say you start from production and then you're not telling us who is your middleman within your production cycle, so when the information doesn't flow, then the story does not look consistent. Remember, the bank doesn't know everything. You know your story. So when you are telling your story, I need to buy into it. So you need to tell me a story that flows to the extent that I can see and say, yes, this is a good story.
Many people come to banks for funds and finance and money and cash. But what other support do banks offer? Does Stanbic offer, for example, that you would say beyond the finances, this is, the sort of other support that would be required to get a business started? Perhaps that is what some, businesses are looking for. Or what would they come and say, I want a loan of X million shillings, But what sort of other support should they be seeking for from financial institutions such as yours?
So we've taken a bold step as a bank to take entrepreneurs through some knowledge gap. So, for example, Dada Stanbic is our main proposition now, and we're looking at the women in banking. And what we're doing for the women is to take them through the basics in terms of what it means to do bookkeeping, what it means to run a business, what it means to market your product. Once we've built up into this, we'll then classify you into the adequate amount of money. Remember, too much of something is not good, too little of it is also not good. So we position this data into proper understanding, and once this is settled in, we'll then give you the financing to run your business.
Indeed. Thank you for that. Collins Wanyonyi, who's the head of enterprise banking at Stanbic Bank of Kenya, talking about what you need to do when you walk into the doors of that bank, how you present your story. He says, you know your story in the way only you can, so tell a story that makes sense. And he talks about good record keeping.